All right, let's play a little Soldier's Joy. Soldier's Joy. That's an old tune. That's a really old tune. Okay. So today, what I thought about is, as a learner, is getting feedback and what that means. Getting feedback, because I think in order to get better at doing this crazy thing, which is playing guitar, playing bluegrass guitar, I think you have to do your best to learn something, you know, whether you're reading a tab or learning it off the recording by slowing it down or learning hand to hand from somebody else. You have to have some way of knowing how you're doing, okay? So the three ways I think you can know how you're doing, where you can get feedback from, is from yourself, from somebody else, and the third is from an audience. So let's talk about from yourself. So the first thing is your memory. You have a memory of what the music sounds like. Meaning, like, have you listened, you're learning a Tony Rice song, how many times have you listened to that song, right? Like, that has to get deeply ingrained in you. If you're learning to play Blue Railroad Train or something, which is a really cool piece to learn, how many times have you heard it now? Then you have to keep going back to it, because you'll learn some of it and go back and hear something that you didn't know was in there. Okay, so now you have a memory baked in of what that sounds like to compare yourself to. Okay, so as you're learning, do I sound like that? Okay. So, you know, another thing is just your ears. As I'm learning this song, what does it sound like to me? Do I hear buzzes? Do I hear notes that aren't clear? Does it sound smooth? Does it sound in time? So you're using your ears and your brain to make those decisions. And then the other one is you record yourself. And I prefer an audio recording, not a good audio recording. Just record yourself, a little voice memo on the phone. What do I sound like? Because you can fool yourself as you're learning. Like, oh, I'm doing good at this. You know, look how fast my fingers are moving. I look really cool. You listen back. Okay, now I'm comparing myself to what I've heard. Does this actually sound good? You know, and then not only that, then you take that feedback, because it's easy to say, like, oh, this sounds horrible, I'm the worst. And believe me, I've been there. But no, that you can't do that. We have to think critically, like, okay, what's happening here? Okay, a sound is being created that I don't like. That is an effect. What is the cause? Can I change the cause? Can I change the effect? All of learning music is cause and effect. If there's a sound I don't like, what is the cause? Can I change the cause? Okay, now I can change the effect. Okay, so now let's talk about someone else. And the someone else, let's say like a teacher can give you feedback, okay? That's good, because a teacher is a third party feedback. So there's times as we're learning that we'll focus on the wrong thing, like, you know, here's a wild example, but like, people get caught up in how Tony Rice's thumb moves. It's worthless, except anybody but him. It does not matter how Tony Rice's thumb moves. So I think my thumb should be moving. Okay, well, ask me or Marcel or Mickey or anybody, and we'll probably tell you it doesn't matter. Now, you know, maybe there's something we don't know, that's fine. But for 95% of bluegrass students, I really don't care how your thumb moves, okay? So there's a piece of feedback that would help you spend a long time worrying about your thumb. You know, maybe you're doing something wrong that you're not aware of. Like maybe something somebody could spot pretty quick, or a struggle that kind of feedback is really, really helpful from a teacher. It can just like it could save you a long time. That's I think where a teacher is really, really, really valuable. I'm fortunate to have some really good teachers in my past, whose lessons I always come back to in my mind. Here's a really good feedback is your mom or your wife or somebody that is not so into the guitar or not as into it as you. They can cut through a lot of nonsense by just telling you something like, hey, why don't you play a song somebody would recognize? Like that could be really good advice. You might have to tune that out sometimes and say, well, I know what I'm working for here. So, but that could be really good advice. A regular person, a friend who can tell you something that you may need to hear can be really good advice. Advice from other musicians. Sometimes it's hard to take advice from other musicians or feedback from other musicians. It'd have to be really. But sometimes it may even make you mad. But what they say, if it makes you mad, the truth will set you free. But first, it'll make you mad. Well, you might get mad, and on the way home, oh, okay, I see what he's talking about. Okay, I probably do need to work on that. Okay, and then the third way to get feedback, so we got feedback from ourselves through a recording, our ears, our memory, feedback from somebody else, a teacher, a friend, your mom, my mom, another musician. Okay, now another third one, really important, feedback from an audience, okay? I really feel like performing music is finished when there's an audience. You really need to have somebody to play something for. It's not everybody's gonna, for me right now, my audience is this, YouTube. That's what I have. I don't have gigs lined up or anything. I'm not performing at this stage of my life with a couple little kids, and I'm not driving long distances and stuff to go record. Not that I did a whole lot of that, but I don't have a regular gig right now. Okay, well that's all right. I will say that I've had so much experience playing for people in the room. That's one of the reasons I can even attempt to do this. I think playing for people on the internet is much harder than playing for people in a room. You get immediate feedback. What happens when they get up and walk away? What happens when they start talking to you, or when they come up to you during the song and tell you they don't like what you're playing and they want to make another have another request, and it involves you stopping this immediately? Like, what happens when you get really positive feedback and then find out later that, oh, that person might be crazy. I don't know if I should believe that feedback. But by and large, feedback from an audience is really one of the best feedbacks. And then preparing for an audience really helps you buckle down and get good feedback. My friend Megan Lynch Chowning, who puts on the brilliant camps in Nashville, these Nashville flat pick camps, she did a lot of contest work growing up, and you'd think that contests would be really good for feedback. And they're really not. And the reason is, and she's kind of pointed this out, in most styles of music that you learn in school, they'll have a contest, and then you'll have some kind of opportunity, feedback from a clinician, or somebody will come talk to you, or somebody writes some notes on a sheet. And there's none of that in the bluegrass contest world. It's a missed opportunity. I think she's rightly identified that. And that's to not give feedback, for not the professionals to have an opportunity to give feedback to the up-and-comers, I think is a missed opportunity, and maybe that'll change someday. Okay, so here we go. One more take on Soldier's Joy. Here we go. a lot.